So lots to get to in this session, but again, whatever we don't get to, we'll just carry over to the next session. Actually going to start with a quick keyboard shortcut that I think in this session is going to save your life, especially if you're only on your laptop, because we're going to be doing a little bit of back and forth from me showing you here in Zoom to then you going to a separate window to try things out. So I'm going to show you about that. If you haven't created a Nearpod account, I'm going to show you how to do that. I've kind of mixed in a couple of different types of Nearpod activities that you'll get to see and do, just as a sampling platter of the more than 20 different types of activities that you can do. So it's pretty impressive what you can do with Nearpod. We're going to talk about the lesson library because there's a whole bunch of stuff that's already made for you. If you don't want to go out making your own lessons or you want to see if you can find pieces from others, the Nearpod lesson library has a ton of stuff. We're going to talk about using Nearpod together in person and at a distance because there are two different presentation modes to Nearpod. And then we're going to talk about sessions reports, questions for next time. And if we have time, a couple minutes at the end, we will do a fun little quiz game that's also a part of Nearpod. So like I said, a lot to get to, but we'll see what we can do in the time that we have together. So first thing is that most important keyboard shortcut you'll ever need to know today. If you are on your Chromebook, Alt and Tab. If you press and hold the Alt key and then you press Tab, this will allow you to select a different window to switch to. So sometimes we have so many things open that it's hard to figure out where stuff is. And so this is a really quick way to switch between your most recently opened or viewed windows. So when you hit that, it will bring you to the next window that you just had open, and you can kind of switch back and forth. Because like I said, you're probably going to need to switch back and forth from Zoom to doing something on your own computer. So Alt and Tab. That's if you're on a Chromebook. I think it's the same if you're on a Windows computer, and on the Mac, it is Command Tab. If you're on an iPad, you can double tap the home screen button to bring up your open apps, and you can kind of switch that way. So there's lots of things, but you will need to kind of switch back and forth. So I just wanted to go over that before we dive in. So the first thing that we're going to do, obviously, if you are new to Nearpod, is creating your own Nearpod account. That's kind of important to do this. And the good thing about it is, like a lot of other products and services that we have access to, you can sign up immediately using your Google account. So if I open another window and I go to, it's very simply nearpod.com, and I'll put it in the chat. So you've got a link to click on. So nearpod.com, you'll get to a screen that looks like this. I'm going to close that window. And then all you need to do is find one of the two green sign up for free buttons. And you can click on one of those. And then all you got to do from there when it loads is press the sign up with Google button. So pretty easy to do. And then after that, you'll be logged into Nearpod. You'll have your account and you'll be ready to go. So again, you go to nearpod.com, click on sign up for free, and then sign up with Google. And then from there on out, when you go to log in, you'll just press login with Google, and it will take you immediately to Nearpod. So when it does that, this is kind of the dashboard of Nearpod. You can see on my screen. Obviously, if you're just creating an account, this space is going to be empty because these are where all of the lessons that you create and you find from the library appear. So your screen will look just like mine, except with different combinations of lessons and folders and things like that. So pretty simple to navigate, I think, for the most part. And now we're going to talk about launching a Nearpod lesson. So again, if you saw on my on my side of Nearpod that we have some different lessons here. And then I actually have these folders that I've put more lessons in, and I'll talk about folders in a later session. But very simply, if I want to go and launch a session, a Nearpod session, I just need to hover my cursor over the lesson, and you'll see that it gives me 3 presentation modes. Live participation plus Zoom, which honestly, I haven't played around with this. I don't know that it offers anything different than just starting your own Zoom meeting and then doing whatever. But I do want to play around with it sometime, just in case there is something different about it. There's live participation, which is what you would use if you are doing a live class, a synchronous lesson with the students, which you could do over Zoom, or you can do in your physical classroom space or working directly with a student. And then student pace is the last one, which you can do that live, and you can do it as an asynchronous thing where they go through the activity at their own pace. So we're actually going to look at, we're going to experience both modes, live participation and student paced, just so you can get a sense of how the controls are a little bit different, where with live participation, the teacher really controls the flow. And then with student paced, they get to go from page to page and activity to activity at whatever rate they want to. So you basically would just select one of those buttons. I'm actually going to go ahead and switch over to my other desktop screen here. And I wanted to set this up because on the left side, you're going to see the teacher view. And on the right side, you're going to see the student view. So if you go ahead and this code right here is what you're going to need. And we're actually going to talk about 4 different methods that you can use to get students into a Nearpod session. The very first one is have them go to join.nearpod.com, which I'm going to put that in the chat. So when you go to join.nearpod.com, you'll come to this screen right here. And then this is where they enter that magic code. It's not case sensitive. It'll just put uppercase letters automatically, but you'll just enter in that code and press join. And here we are. So you're now, I'm now on my Nearpod lesson as a student. And I can, when you go to start the session, this window pops up automatically. I can press the X to get out of it. And now you'll see that this is the teacher view as well. And if I need to come back to it, the code is always there in the top left corner, and I can just click on it to bring that box back up that we were just looking at. So anytime that you need it, it is right there, which is really convenient. So that's the first method for joining a Nearpod session, for connecting your students. And like I said, we were going to talk about some more. So notice on the left side, the teacher side, that I am now going to press this arrow. You'll see the student side does not see these. The difference between live session and student paced is that in a live session, students don't get to move those arrows or press those arrows, and in a self-paced, they do. So when I go and press this arrow here, you'll now see that I'm basically taking control of the student screen, and when I flip to the next page, the student also flips to the next page. And you'll see I have some more instructions about how to press on the code in the top left corner, so you can see this, yada, 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 yada. I would certainly invite you to join this Nearpod session. Again, I provided the link, so you can just go ahead and open a new window. Use that Alt tab to kind of practice switching back and forth. But go ahead and enter that code so that I can, so that you can kind of go along with me on this as well. So method 2 for connecting to a Nearpod session is to share a direct link. So again, if I pull up that window with the code, One of my options right here says link, and I just need to click on it, and there is the direct link into this Nearpod, and you can copy and paste it wherever. You can put it in Google Classroom, you can put it in an email, you could put it on a piece of paper or anything like that. You've got the direct link in, so there's no having to go to a website and then entering a code. It just brings you right in, which is pretty neat. So that's method 2. Let's go ahead and look at method 3. So method 3 is you can do a direct share into Google Classroom, which is pretty neat as well. I'm always just comfortable with copying and pasting codes, but I do like the direct Google Classroom integration. So again, I'm going to click on the box. I'm going to select Google Classroom, and you're going to see it's actually going to open a new tab. And let's see what happens here. Okay, so I get share to classroom. So I start, which class do I want to share it with? So I'm going to share it with my test class. I don't think you can select more than one, which is a little bit of a bummer, but that's okay. And then choose an action. So do I want to create an assignment around my Nearpod link? Do I want to ask a question or make an announcement or create a material? So how do you want this to show up in Google Classroom? You can choose that from here. So let's say in this case, I wanted to create an assignment. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And I'm going to select go. And you'll see here we are. And if you have ever created an assignment in Google Classroom, this is exactly what it looks like, with the difference being that, hey, here is your handy dandy Nearpod link for you automatically. And then you can fill up the rest of the details, title, instructions, select individual students if you want, how you're going to grade it, when it's due, all that stuff. Just like if you were doing it in Google Classroom already. So that is method 3. And then let's look at method 4. So method 4 is direct share via email. So one more time, going to bring it up. I can just go ahead and go and press the email. And then if you wanted to just send it out to like an individual email address, you could certainly do that here. But if you wanted to send it to your whole class, or you wanted to send it to a group or something like that, then you would actually select the Google icon, and that will actually just open up Gmail in a new tab. And you'll see here, I'll wait for it to load, that here we have a new email. It's kind of given you the subject line already. It's filled in the body for you, and it's given you that link like we had looked at earlier. And then at that point, you just need to determine who your recipients are, put those in, and hit send. And you are through with sending it along. So those are the 4. There's others, but they don't necessarily apply to us. Like, I don't think we're going to be sharing anything over Twitter or Facebook, and we don't have Microsoft Teams. So those are the primary 4, and there is no one option better than the others. I know for me personally, I just like to have the link that I copy and paste. But whatever works best for you is what works best. There's no wrong way to do it in this case. So the next thing here, we're going to do our first sample activity is a poll. And again, on my screen, you can kind of see, and if you're joining on Nearpod, you'll see it, that there's a great big list of different things that you can incorporate into a Nearpod. And I have, I think, 5 of them that we're going to look at during this session if we have time. So the first one is a poll. And it's very simple that I'm going to go to the next page. The student's going to see a splash screen that says poll on it. And then there's your question. What's your level of familiarity with Nearpod? And then you've got 5 answer choices. And so again, you can see on the teacher side, on my side, I'm now seeing the list of students who are connected in the Nearpod session, as well as their responses if they have one. Which is really cool. So let's say that I'm completely new to this, so I'm going to press what's Nearpod again, and I'm going to submit it. And it's going to say got it. And in just a second, we should see it on, there it is. I've now responded with option A. You can see those two responses. So you'll see the student will continue to see this until I go to the next page. They can't move on without me. And you'll see I got a little graph. I have the option here of pressing the share button, and it'll actually show the students what. So if you wanted to poll the class on a survey, like what toppings do you want on your pizza for your pizza party, right? You might see a graph of the responses. It'll show them what they answered, and then you'll see what the class responded with as a whole. And I can just press unshare to make that go away. So on the bottom of my screen, you'll see I have a couple of additional boxes that the students aren't going to see. The first one is just going to show me a list of all of the students who are in this session. If there's a student who is not supposed to be there, or they're not behaving with what they're doing, you can just boot them out, just hit remove, and away they'll go. Next to that, it'll actually show you kind of what page you're on Nearpod. I can just click there, and I can thumb through. So I could go back to a different page if I wanted to. So if I wanted to go back to page 2, I'm just going to go ahead and actually, no, it's the share button. I have to go back, but let's go ahead and hit share. Yeah, see, it just brings me right back to that page. And it brings you back to that page too. So again, having the ability to control, because sometimes I think we've all experienced this where, you're trying to do an activity with kids on the computer and they're all over the place, and some of them are where they're supposed to be, and some of them, are getting lost and not sure where to go, and some of them are, off trying to find some sort of Fortnite clone on the internet to play. Nearpod is really great that it kind of keeps everybody in the right place, which is really nice. The last button down here at the bottom is hide student names, because a lot of teachers will opt to show the teacher side on a projector or the TV, or on their shared screen in Zoom. While the students see the windows, they won't necessarily show side to side like I am. They'll just show the teacher side on the video, and then they'll see the student side. So if you're doing something like that, but you don't want the students to see each other's responses, you can press hide student names, and then you'll see it just turns all the names into asterisks. So if you're doing something online, you can kind of protect a little bit of that privacy using that. So we're going to do another sample activity here, which is a video. And we're going to talk a lot more in the next session, the next Tech Wednesday next week, about all of the different ways that you can incorporate video. There's a ton of ways you can use it. It is an unbelievably helpful tool to use. And so I really like that availability. And another thing that happens when you go to do a video is it gives you a little bit of choice in how you present the video. So if I go to the next page now, if you're in live session mode like we are right now, where I'm controlling what you see on the screen, it's going to give me the option of whether do I want the video to play on my screen, which in that case, they're going to continue to see this message that says eyes up front. It's not going to change until I go to the next page, or until we get to a part in the video where there's a quiz question. And again, we'll talk about that next week as well, is that you can actually pause the video at points to ask the students questions, which is really a really cool tool. Or I can say students play the video, and then they'll have the video pop up on their individual screens, and they can listen to it at their own pace. So we're going to go ahead and just listen to the video together. So if you're not in your Zoom window, come back to the Zoom window because, again, your Nearpod's just going to say eyes up front until we move on. So let's go ahead and press teacher plays and continue. And then there's the video right there. I pulled this straight from YouTube. One of the things I really like about integrating YouTube videos is that it kind of strips away all of the elements of YouTube that leads kids down rabbit holes of distraction. It just shows the video. That's all it does, which is actually really nice.
Today, we will learn how to search the Nearpod library for lessons and videos. Once in your Nearpod account, select Nearpod Library in the gray panel on the left-hand side. You will be defaulted to our home Nearpod library page. Here, you will see a rotating banner of new features and content we've created for you to enjoy. Underneath, you will see folders with featured lessons, lessons by publishers, videos, and premium packages. The second way you can search the Nearpod library is using the search engine. I can search and filter the Nearpod library by typing in any key term, such as fractions. You can see here we have a variety of K through 12th grade standards aligned lessons and videos for you to choose from and add to your library. The third way to filter your Nearpod library is using the gray panel to the left-hand side. Here, you can filter by lessons or by videos. Lastly, you can search the Nearpod library by standard. First, begin by selecting the state in which you teach in. Then, select the subject, the grade level, and the specific strand. If you have any further questions, please visit nearpod.com/resources or email us at support@nearpod.com.
All right. So that is a video about the Nearpod lesson library. And again, it's quite expansive. Great question, Sarah. Is everything in the library free? No, there are things that are additional. I'm trying to remember. So basically, with the different types of subscriptions that they have, there's one tier where it's like for school and district subscriptions where everything is unlocked. Outside of that, there are limits to all the different packages. So this is one of the reasons why I'm advocating for us to get a district subscription, is that it unlocks a whole bunch of additional content. It opens digital citizenship curriculum that talks about things like social justice and equity, all kinds of subject matter content. There's a keyboarding curriculum in there that I've come across. There's a ton of additional things that are a part of what they talked about in the video as premium packages. But that being said, there is an awful lot in there that is free. It's actually quite impressive how much stuff they have. Oh yeah, they have SEL lessons with Calm. There's so much in there where that you can just unlock and do with kids. It's pretty amazing. So I'm in the library right now. Actually, I should go back real quick just to kind of reinforce that on the left side of my dashboard, the place that I go when I'm just logging in, I can press on Nearpod Library, and you'll see that they kind of have a bunch of featured categories that you can pick through. You can focus specifically on things that are videos, different activities. You can sort by publisher. So there's all kinds of different organizations and companies that produce content for Nearpod, like Common Sense Education, Calm, iCivics, Khan Academy. There's just so much stuff in here. It's really quite amazing. I'm really looking forward to talking about simulations in the next session as well. And again, almost all of this stuff is free. The premium collections are where you start to get into the stuff that costs more money. So we've got that. You can search on the left side by what type of thing you're looking for. The standards selection does work for Maine. A lot of websites that let you sort by standards usually doesn't work for Maine because we're not a big state like California or Texas. But you can search for Maine. You can also search by just sort of the generic, Common Core state standards, which is basically what a lot of the Maine learning results are, or NGSS for science. But I can search for Maine. I can search for, let's search for videos, and let's search for math, and let's search for grades. So let's look at 5th grade math, and you're going to see here that in this case there weren't any videos specifically, but if I kind of broaden and look at, these are basically fully packaged activities that introduce different concepts, provide practice opportunities for the kids to work on them. Just incredible stuff here. They have VR lessons, so there's lessons on parentheses and calculating volume in an aquarium for whale sharks with a VR experience, which you don't have to have a VR headset for. It's just really cool if you do, but you can kind of navigate a 360 view with your trackpad, regardless of whether you've got a headset or not. So again, just amazing amount of content in here. Let's look at powers of 10. I can just go ahead and press preview lesson. And you're going to kind of see a little bit of what the students see. It doesn't have like the interactivity stuff. It'll just kind of show you like on each page what it looks like. And then if you go to add it to your library, then you can kind of see a little bit more of what the kids see. But you can press preview and you can go through the different pages. And again, you kind of see, actually, this is kind of a lesson plan for you. And then, essential questions and learning targets and all that stuff is in there. Let's get started. We're actually going to do one of these activities here, these collaborate boards, kind of like a Padlet, if you've ever used Padlet. In this case, they're kind of doing it as like a KWL exercise. Here's a prompt. Where would someone need to know how to multiply by powers of 10? And so there's actually a drawing activity that they could draw a picture of a situation where they might need to do something, or they could just use a text box and type it out. Again, there's just some really, really great stuff in here that you have access to. And again, this is stuff that's free. Even if you're on the free account, I have a paid subscription, which the biggest thing that it really gives you over the free is storage. So that's another thing too, is on the free version, your file, the amount of activities that you have in your library is limited to 100 megabytes, which adds up quickly. I would say in a lot of cases that might be like somewhere between 5 to 8 activities before your library fills up. On the first tier of subscription, it's 1 gigabyte. And I think with the district subscription, it's either 1 gigabyte or 5 gigabytes. And so obviously it's a lot more space to put stuff. But let's say I'm going to add this one to my library. And let's go ahead and press on that. And now let's go ahead and show it in the library. And you'll see here, again, it's a little bit more filled out with things. I can start a live session directly from here in either of the ways that I want to do it. If you ever want to go back to the dashboard, you can just press Nearpod, the logo in the top left. I'm going to go ahead and press that. And you can even see, like, in the description of the lesson, you'll say powers of 10 Nearpod team, and it will show you what the file size is, 10 megabytes. So again, with a 100 megabyte limit, you could fit 10 of this type of lesson. But I have seen other lessons that are like 20 or more megabytes. So it does kind of add up quickly. If you want to know how much space you're using, you can go to the top right where your avatar is going to be, and you can press Manage Nearpod Account, and it'll just show you really quickly on the left side, here's how much space you're using. Gold user means is the first paid tier. Silver is free, and then there's a platinum, which I think gives you even more space. And then after that, it's school and district subscriptions. But they're right there showing you, okay, I'm using about 51 megabytes. And in a future session too, we'll talk about some tips about how to kind of save storage space in terms of like lessons that you might create. If I just go ahead and delete this from my library, it's going to give me those 10 megabytes back. Pretty easy. So, and also Sarah, if I don't know how much you've used the Nearpod library, but if you'd like to share anything about how you've found and used lessons in Nearpod, because I know you have used it with your students already, that would be great. You don't have to, no pressure.
Okay. No, I don't mind sharing. I've been using it for the remote. Well, we practice it in class first, and I would recommend that to any teachers first. Try one out in the classroom all together, but I've been assigning them on remote days, and I've been using it a lot for science and social studies. We did, when we were doing the water cycle, I was able to find some good lessons that were already in the Nearpod library. And I just linked those through Google Classroom. And then when the kids return back to school, I can even show them their responses and to like some of the questions that maybe they didn't do well. And we can talk about those questions on when they return. I'm starting a social studies unit on Westward Expansion next. And I did find plenty of Oregon Trail, Gold Rush, videos, activities right here in the Nearpod library. I did ask if it was free because on one thing I clicked, I noticed it said unlocked content. And so I haven't seen that before. So I'm wondering if I put a bunch of things in my library, which I'm not going to be able to use, but hopefully if it's offering me the option, that means I can use that video.
Yeah, I think what I found, because I've seen those too. I've seen where it says unlocked content, and I think what they do with some of their activities, like their premium collections, is like a full-fledged lesson. But then like they might take individual pieces out of that lesson, like maybe it's a video from that lesson, and they'll make those available. But they might just kind of like not make all of the pieces of it available. That's at least what I think that I've found with like because there's a bunch of Common Sense Media like videos that I can just go in and find and use them. But the actual like full-fledged activity is a premium thing that I need the upgrade for. So that's my guess as to why you might be seeing that, is like this is part of a larger thing that you would have to pay for to access, but this individual piece of it is free.
Okay. Yeah.
Because and this is one thing that I've kind of given them feedback on, is like to maybe be a little bit more transparent in their like what their different pricing tiers offer, because I don't get the sense that like my paid subscription like unlocks additional content for me over what you're getting on the free. I think the biggest benefit of it is the storage space. I think that's like the biggest thing, and maybe there's some other like little features here and there.
Yeah, I noticed once I had probably like 5 or 6 videos put in my library, I started getting messages like, you've used up your allotment of content. But once I deleted one that I've already done, um, I was able to continue to use more and put more in the library. So really, you can only just have a handful at a time, which works fine right now, and probably will work in the future as well. Because I'll just have to remember which ones I like using when I get to a certain unit. Rather
Yeah,
than just
that's really kind of what it comes down to. Is it's just you're kind of actively having to manage. I got to get rid of this lesson so I can bring in this one. Having the paid with the upgraded storage kind of gives you the luxury of, you can keep them there, and then you can kind of organize into folders and things like that too, where it's just sort of, you don't have to go hunting for it again. You just, boom, it's right there. You know where it is, that kind of thing. That's the biggest thing. But again, I'm hoping to advocate that we invest in this, so you don't have to worry about that you'll have the expanded storage and hopefully access to some of those premium collections as well. Again, it's just it's quite impressive what they have for materials. It's really nice. Okay, so the next thing we're actually going to do, so the Nearpod lesson that I shared with you that you've been engaging in, you can actually go ahead and close out of that now, because I'm actually going to share another one with you so that you can kind of see what an activity looks like from more of the self-guided perspective, where you have control about how you go from screen to screen. And I'm just going to show you really quickly. Again, in your Nearpod library, if you were going to start a self-guided lesson, I would just press where it says student paste. And in this case, it's going to give you the code right there. It's going to give you all the same sharing methods. Here's one thing that's actually really nice, which is this little slider right here. You want to make sure that you know whether you want it on or off, which is require student responses and prevent skipping. When this is off, when there is a page where they need to actually put in a response, like type a response or draw something, when this is on, it doesn't let them move to the next page until they've put in something. Which again, like they could just smash keys on their keyboard and turn that in and move on. But it does to some extent keep them a little bit more honest, which is nice. If you turn it off, they can just kind of go back and forth as they want. But you've got that option. I'm actually going to go to the next activity that I wanted to share with you. All right. So the one cool thing too is, even if you're kind of doing this in a live setting, and you can still kind of monitor what the kids are doing, but they have the ability to kind of go back and forth. So again, we have matching pairs for this one. This is another type of activity that you can do. And now when I flip through the page, it doesn't move anything on the student side. But you can go ahead, when you're connected, you can flip through those pages, and then you're going to see we got a description of the activity, match each piece of computer hardware with its description. We're going to close that. And then this is a little bit of a computer hardware terminology, matching pairs. Just a little quick thing. So in this case, you've got a couple of different terms, and then you've got a couple of different definitions, and your job in this activity is to match them. So again, as students are kind of going through, you can sort of follow along on your side and see what it is they're working on. So I have all the same options. I can see who's in here. I can flip from page to page. I can show and hide student names. See, there they are. And then I can also, those are the answers. So don't want to show those. In this case, what I'm going to see here is how many matches you've gotten and how many tries it took you. So I'm going to go ahead and do it from the student side. And A device that lets you move. That sounds like a mouse. And you'll see when I get it, I get that little success thing. Data storage device that stores and retrieves digital data. That sounds like a hard drive. So I got that one. I'm going to make a mistake on purpose. A screen, we're going to call it a keyboard. So in this case, I didn't get it, but I'm going to try again. And you'll see it's kind of updating as I go. So I've gotten 2 of them so far. It's taken me 3 tries. So I made 1 mistake, but I can keep going. Headphones, right there, keyboard, and printer. So this is one of those ways that you can kind of, celebrate the kids as they go through. If you're doing this in person, and you'll see that now it's bolded my name because I've gotten all 6. Took me 7 tries, so I made that 1 mistake, but overall pretty cool. The next activity that I have here in the self-paced mode is a draw it activity. And this is also a really powerful activity because of all the things you can kind of manipulate as a result of it. So I'm going to go ahead, sample activity 4, draw it. And again, I can kind of go at my own pace here. I kind of put in a little slide to show you about the different draw it tools. You've got a pencil, highlighter, text box. You can insert a picture. You can erase. You can select the color and size on those 3 tools. When you have a text box, it's one of those things where sometimes it's really good, particularly if you're not doing something live with the kids, of giving them a little bit of supports and kind of giving them an expectation of what they're going to see. So that's kind of what this was for. And then when I go to the next page, this one will say, pair the objects to determine whether there's an odd or an even number of members. Then circle even or odd. So if I go to pair these up, I can use my drawing tool if I want. They're all at the bottom. I'm going to click on the pencil. I'm going to make it green. And let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and pair those 2 pencils and those 2 pencils and those 2 pencils. And I don't have a pencil to pair with this one, so that must mean that it is odd. So that's what the student sees. That's what the student does. And now on the teacher side, on the left side, you can see that I can see what they've started on. The only thing with the draw it's is you have to press submit. The student has to submit before you actually end up seeing it. So let's go ahead and do a couple more pairs. We'll change colors for this because why not? We'll pair, make a pair, make a pair. All right. So we had enough pairs for everybody. So that's an even. And again, I'm just using this with my mouse or trackpad. This works on tablets. You don't need an app. You can just go to the same website. And some of the drawing tools, they're a little bit easier to do because you're using a touch screen or a stylus or one of those. It's just as responsive. And let's go ahead and make some pizza pairs. Kind of rushing it now. Little messy. Looks like we got one left over, so that's odd. So now when I finish this page, I can press the submit button. And on the teacher side, in just a second, it should update to kind of show me that it's been submitted. Yep, there we go. And there we go. You can see that this is what's been submitted. I can see it here, which is really nice. One thing you can do, and we'll show this in the live session too, is you can actually share a student response. So you could actually press a share button on this, and it would actually appear on the student's screen so they could see it. So that's another really powerful tool that goes with Nearpod is you can kind of share those exemplars and those examples of student work that you're looking for. And so I think that creates a lot more investment in by the kids, that they have an opportunity to have their work seen by everyone else or seen on a big screen or something like that. So that's a really neat feature as well. Obviously, because we're in asynchronous mode, it's not going to show that, but you can do it in live mode, which is nice. And then this last draw it, we have solve the problems. And so this might be where you kind of use a combination of your drawing tools and your text boxes to write your answers. So I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to embarrass myself with my math skills on this session. But again, I think you can kind of see the point. So if I put a text box in here, one thing with the text box is if you don't type anything in the box and you click out of it, it goes away. So you have to press it again to create a new one. But I'm going to go ahead and let's see if I can do this in my head. It's going to be 3,255. So there we go. And now I can just click outside the text box. It's right there. Again, I kind of showed in the slides before this. Those are your arrows for kind of moving the text box around. You can resize it with the blue circles, and then you can hit the trash can to get rid of it.